My name is Julie Rio. I am the Adult Programming and Community Services Librarian here at the Wallingford Public Library. Welcome to the world of harmonica. The harmonica is a worldwide instrument, voicing the music of hundreds of cultures. And one simple reason could be its size. It fits in your pocket, right? What is intriguing is the harmonica's ability, when played by masters, to encompass all genres of musical styles, from classical to jazz to Near Eastern to blues to country, and the list goes on. Using storytelling and historical facts, as well as playing the instrument in many different styles, our presenter tonight, Bob Hennessy, will open your ears and your mind to the world of harmonica. Please join me in giving a warm Wallingford welcome to Bob Hennessy.
Well, listen, I'd like to say thank you very much for making the effort to come out on such a rainy, crummy day. I know you guys could all be out jogging. Wouldn't it be much nicer? What this is about this little instrument here. And I'm curious to find out at some point, you'll come up at the end of the show and tell me your experience, and I'd love to share that with you. Right now, though, I'd like to do something kind of interesting. This is a little period piece by John Steinbeck. You know, the harmonica is easy to carry. If you just pull it out of your pocket, knock out the fuzz, the dirt, the bits of tobacco, if you still smoke. And you can do anything with a harmonica. You can play thin, reedy tones, chords, rhythm chords with melody, right? And you can mold the tone, the music with curved hands, making it cry and wail like the bagpipes. You know, you can make it as sharp and bitter as the reed pipes in the hills. And sharp and bitter and like an organ. And when you're done, you can just stick it back in your pocket, right? You know, as you play, you learn new tricks, new ways to mold the tone. And no one teaches you. It's like when you go in your tent at night and you're all alone, you can play anything that you like. And you feel around sometimes in the shade at noon, sometimes after supper. And your foot taps gently on the ground, and your eyebrows rise and fall with the rhythm. And if you lose it, or you break it, get another one, right? It's only a quarter. Of course, times have changed. It's no longer a quarter, is it? So I thought that was kind of an appropriate way to start the show. I was going to put that slide up for you so you can kind of reminisce about that movie. Hopefully you read the book, right?
Yep.
Wonderful stuff. You know, we'd like to go and do a little bit of who am I and why am I here? I think the simple truth is that, like many of you people tonight, I arrived at this place by circumstance and curiosity, because my world was enhanced by this instrument. And I'll tell you, when I was, I guess, 13 years old, I went to school in upstate New York, and as things happen, you have to change the bus in New York City, and when you've got an hour and a half and you're 13 years old, what do? You kind of explore, you walk around and find out what the heck is going on in this big town. Well, I happened to stop by a pawn shop, and in the window was this big, beautiful, shiny harmonica. And even though I didn't grow up in a musical family, didn't know anything about music, something told me to go in and give that guy some money because I had to take this thing home. And I tell you, as soon as I left, I did this. When I pushed the button in, it kind of threw me for a loop. And I told you, I went home, I took it, stuck it in a drawer, and I think it stayed there for 10 years. And I'm sure that a couple of people here tonight have had that same kind of experience. It can be a little bit frustrating for an instrument, but you know, if you stick with it, it can be a lot of fun as well. And I have to tell you that it was about 10 years later in San Francisco, I was doing poetry, and it was probably pretty crappy. And the reason I know that is because I was renting the downstairs to a guitar player, singer-songwriter. And he played guitar and played harmonica, and he said, you know what, you ought to take one of these things to your poetry, it'll make it sound a heck of a lot better. And what's kind of funny is it really happened to be true. And I had two brothers. When I came back east, I asked them to back me up. And when they did, we got a couple of gigs at colleges, and guess what? May came, colleges were closed, no gigs, started a band. And that's how I ended up playing this thing for as long as I had. All right, so this photo looks like probably in the 40s. And it's a harmonica factory, and I'm guessing it's in Germany, and it's probably either Seidelzone or Hohner. But the reason that I put it up was to kind of give you some perspective. So what happened in about 1821, there was a gentleman by the name of Frederick Ludwig Buschmann, and supposedly he was the inventor of this instrument. And basically what he did in 1821 was put this thing together as we know it today, but it wasn't shortly after that that there were three others by the name of Christian Messner, Seidelzone, Wirt Harmonica Fabrik, and gosh, by the time 1857 came by, the Henry Ford of harmonica was putting these things out in a factory, probably not unlike that, and his name was Matthias Hohner. And what they were making, even till today, is basically this instrument here. And what you have is a comb, now typically made of wood, and pear wood is probably a very popular wood to use because it's kind of stable. And on the top reed plate, which is typically made of brass, sometimes different materials, you can see the slots are corresponding with the comb, and then riveted to this would be the reeds that play up and down. Now this is the blow reed on top of these other draw reeds on the bottom, and it's a sandwich. You've got this top cover and a bottom cover, and typically they were held together with nails, sometimes screws now, because it makes it a little bit tighter and better to play. But the reason that this harmonica was put together this way was really for German folk music. It wasn't for the kind of music that we typically know or play today. And the reason that it was put together in a certain fashion was exactly for that purpose. So even though it's a diatonic harmonica, I'll show you what the layout is. So the first hole, let's say, is in the key of C. The blow is C, the draw is D, the blow on hole 2 is E. Wow, getting fancy. Come back to me. Technology. save the show. So, what's interesting, because you typically know diatonic scale to go do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, what you have here is C, D, E, F, no, G. G is the draw note here, and then when you blow here, it's G again. It doesn't make any sense, and it confuses a lot of people, but the reason that they did it that way was so you could play chords and melody at the same time, like I did initially. And then the center portion of the harp is straight diatonic, do, re, fi, ma, do, re. How does it go? Hey, you guys are good. And then the top hole is the same thing, only upside down. So now you know why you get confused, right? Here we've got a gentleman. Who is this guy in the tall hat? That's right, you guys are pretty sharp. Did you all go to school here or study at the library upstairs? The reason that I brought this up, that, you know, he was actually an aficionado of the instrument. But what's interesting is this reed plate that was discovered in Antietam, Maryland. And this proves to me that probably on the night of September 17, 1862, when you had 23,000 men wounded, dying, or dead, you heard something like this. It was written by General Butterfield. He was a soldier. What kind? General? North or south? He was from the north. These two guys, this is Wyatt Earp and Billy the Kid. Do you think they had coffee and donuts at the OK Corral at the same time? I don't think so. But, you know, the kind of music that they were playing was Stephen Foster music, more than likely, around 1848. And, you know, some of the harmonica packages, I don't know if they still put this song in here, but it sounds something like... This is the kind of music that people play even today, right on the front porch, gramps, friends, getting together. And, you know, there's a song that I'm going to play next that actually comes from my favorite comedy of all time. And you tell me what comedy it is, and I'll give you a business card. How's that? This is actually the beginning of the movie, and it's played, or actually they sing it, and they sing it kind of like this. What movie was that?
Mel Brooks.
All right, come get your free CD.
Crazy Saddles. I didn't even remember that. There you go. That was kind of hilarious.
All right, so these two cowboys are having a good time and they're playing Stephen Foster music. And times change again. And although the instrument hasn't really changed that much, some of the music is beginning to change. And as I told you at the beginning of the program, most of this stuff that was played at this period of time was done on folk music, German, Tyrolean kind of music, or Americana. But there was another culture here at that point in time, and they had a musical sensibility that was entirely different from our white experience, our white European experience. And they had to find a way to express what was in their soul. The beauty of this instrument is that it was inexpensive, and it allowed them to do that. My question is, how did they figure it out? Because most people, when they try one of these things and they want to play the blues, can't do it. And how they figured it out from that very beginning is a mystery to all of us. But it would probably have sounded something like this. Remember these first notes? That's the European version. Up until that point, that did not exist. And how they figured it out, I wish I knew. I really do, because it is extremely difficult all by yourself to just figure out how to bend notes. I know, it took me a while. You know, that same period of time, you know, we're heading towards the end of the 1800s and we're getting into the turn of the century. And there's a couple of guys here, Gwen Foster and DeFord Bailey. These two cats were very proficient at bending notes and playing all kinds of Americana music. And you'll see on the top right here, there's something called the fox chase. And DeFord Bailey really, I think, originated this, but he does a heck of a job playing it. I'm not going to copy him, but basically, it's a musical expression of the hunter and the hounds chasing the fox. And I like to do it kind of in the fashion of Sergei Prokofiev. And he was the guy that did Peter and the Wolf. And his sense, in the classical sense, was to assign a musical instrument to a particular character. And I'm going to do that with a single instrument, but just using certain notes and certain tones for the different characters in this fox chase. So we have the fox. The hunter. The dog. And the horse. So it's about 4:30 in the morning and the sun's coming up over the fields. I had somebody yell out one time, 1:30 is too early. All right, so we'll make it 7 o'clock. How's that? Fox comes out of his den. Beautiful day. And he wants to run around in the field. The hunter is up. Dog is chasing the horse. You know, by this time the fox realizes maybe this is not such a beautiful day. You know what? I think something's going to happen today and I'm going to take off and save my family. He runs off. Meanwhile, Jesus on. Fox got away. The horse, dog, ran out of gas. Thank you. You know, as you leave tonight, there's a little pamphlet in the back that puts together a bunch of information about people to look up and all kinds of stuff. So don't be shy when you take off tonight to make sure you grab something. I'm going to take a seat for these few here. And you can see the progression here, right? From the 10-cent harmonica all the way up to $1.49. And of course, if you go to buy a real harmonica today, it costs you anywhere from 25 bucks. Look at that, there you go, how to play. All the way up to, gosh, I paid almost 400 bucks for one day. For a diatonic. You know, I skipped a spot here. Actually, no, I didn't. You know, we had through a bunch of little progressions here, right? We started with the diatonic harmonica, it started in Europe, you did the Americana stuff, the Tyrolean stuff, and then got into a little bit of the blues, and it was all based on that diatonic instrument. But now, 1924, when harmonicas were being pumped out at 20 million a year and 10 million a year were coming to the US, Hohner came up with this. This is actually like two harmonicas pushed together. So you've got, as an example, a C harmonica, until you push the button in, and then you've got the D flat or C sharp harmonica, and that gives you all the notes. Because of that, the world was open to an entirely brand new kind of music played on this instrument. And we're going to start with a thing by Django Reinhardt. It's called Minor Swing. Started in 1933. so that's, you can see the difference there, right? Between the old diatonic and what's going on with chromatic. This is a tune by Ira Gershwin. Anybody know the name of this one?
Summertime.
Yeah, exactly right. This was written in 1935. Do you remember what show it was part of?
Porgy and Bess.
That's right, Porgy and Bess. This one's a special song. You can't just do like highbrow music all day long, right? So you got to do some country stuff. And when you play harmonica and you have sticky lips, things don't work too good. So let me parch them a little bit, or unparch them. Yeah, this is a song that was written by the gentleman of the name of Evan T. Rouse. And it was written in 1938. And if you go on YouTube and watch this song played, it'll be played much faster than I'm going to play it today, but you'll get a sense of it anyway.
Orange Blossom Special, right?
That's right. Time for another slide. So times really change now when you put the chromatic harmonica in a whole group of people, and with it you mash up the chord harmonica and the bass harmonica and some crazy antics. Of course, you've got people like Bora Minovich, the Harmonica Rascals, John Paleo and his harmonica gang, Sherry Urad and the Harmonica Rascals, and of course Larry Adler, probably the greatest classical, popular classical harmonica musician that ever lived, tone-wise especially. Unfortunately, at some point in his career, they forced him to move to England for political reasons we won't get into. But if you ever find his stuff, it's just magic, magical tone. And to celebrate that, I'd like to do a Peg of My Heart. This was an old Tin Pan Alley tune that these guys revived. It was written by Alfred Bryan and Fred Fisher and became the most popular song of the day. actually, the original name of the song was called Never No Lament. Of course, it wouldn't have been a hit with those names, would it? So anyway, there was a guy by the name of Bob Russell in 1942, added some lyrics to it, and that it became Don't Get Around Much Anymore. Expecting somebody to get up and dance, but I didn't see any movement there, sorry. You know, just like a few minutes ago, you got to give due to the country guys. And this is one of my all-time favorite tearjerkers. Of course, what would a country tune be without a tearjerker, right? This was written by Hank Williams. All right, so we went all the way up to the 40s and the 50s with these guys. Things are going to change again. Uh-oh. This guy did more to the blues side of harmonica and the Chicago style of playing than anybody, probably, at least in his time frame. And certainly there are a lot of people after him that are wonderful players and great players, but for some reason this guy really made an impression. And right around this time frame, what you have to understand is that, you know, guys were playing acoustically. And in Chicago, you can imagine, you know, you have house parties and guys are playing acoustic guitar and, you know, they're playing acoustic washed-up bass or, you know, large Mexican basses. I don't think so. But maybe the bass player was the only one that actually had an amp, I don't know. But it turned out that the crowds would get so loud that everybody had to amplify what they had. So this guy decided to get himself a nice cheap microphone and a nice cheap amp, and he came up with a really incredible sound. I am not going to try to replicate Little Walter, but I am going to try to replicate a little bit of what that distorted Chicago blues sounds like. Make it a little loud. I don't want to blow away the first row. Just be careful. Okay? That's called Back of the Chicken Shack. This is written by Jimmy Smith in 1963. That's the stuff that people love to go out and dance to every Saturday night, right? This next slide was somebody that kind of changed my life, actually really made me study the chromatics seriously than the diatonic, but this gentleman, Toots Thielman, just an amazing player. He wrote a song that you may recognize. It goes like, called Bluesette. And he, for many years, played with Benny Goodman. He was also a guitar player and a whistler, by the way. He actually was the whistler in the Old Spice commercial. But you could hear him on Sesame Street. Makes you want to say all your ABCs, right? And of course, Sanford and Son, Midnight Cowboy. Remember that song? Let's see if I remember. Etc., etc. Anyway, he played with millions of people all around the world. If you love harmonica and want a little education or some nice music, he did some beautiful Brazilian albums as well. I'd encourage you to kind of check him out. In celebration of that, I'd like to do Antonio Carlos Jobim's song called Black Venus. 1959. another country song?
Yep.
Sure, why not? This is this is a very scary movie for some guys, and you'll remember why. We got to give these guys some due. These are people that came up in the 50s and 60s. Sonny Terry and Brian McGee, they were a great acoustic folk act, and I got to admit, I think Sonny Terry really kind of got me hooked playing the harp. I mean, he just really had a wonderful presence about him, and the way he played was just so unique. The two of them I hear didn't really get along all that good, but I guess if you travel together in a car for 40 years from gig to gig to gig, it could get a little tiring. But guys like Walter Horton, Paul Butterfield, Sonny Boy Williams II, Big Mama Thornton, really some great blues, whether it was folk, Chicago, Texas, all kinds of stuff. I want you to check it out. Like I said, I got a little pamphlet up front that's got all kinds of information you can take with you. We're going to skip ahead now to 70s and 80s. And you guys got Stevie Wonder, Magic Dick, of course, with Jake Giles' band, Charlie McCoy, great country player, James Cotton, one of my all-time favorites, Lee Oscar. Remember that band, War? Sure. Sugar Blue, he's probably one of the faster diatonic players I ever heard. And of course, John Mayall from England. John Mayall in the Blues Blasters?
Breakers.
Breakers, yeah, there you go. See, get all your great information from a little kid. I'm sorry, I don't need to pick on this. Listen, I'm going to play one of my favorite songs. This is typically not a harmonica song, but this was written by Leon Russell. It's called "This Masquerade." It's a slow dancer, if any of you would like to. because I have a lot of slides to go here, and they're really kind of important. So I was going to play a couple more songs, but I wanted you to just get a sense of the manufacturers that are out there today. And like I said, there's a pamphlet in the back that these all relate to. What's particularly interesting is this here. This is called the Lecombe DM48. It's actually a MIDI instrument now that harmonica players can play, so you can make it sound like anything. Really interesting stuff. Customizers. You know, a lot of people said that, you know, when they pick up a harmonica, it doesn't sound right, they can't get it to play right, blah, blah, blah. I want you to check out this guy, Brendan Power. These other guys are tremendous as well. Michael Easton is the guy that takes care of my harmonicas, by the way. He's in Pennsylvania. But Brendan Power is an absolute genius when it comes to inventing new kinds of harmonicas, new ways to play it. Just an amazing character. This might be important to some of you or some people that you may know. This is called Harmonica for Health, and there are some counties around the country that have adopted this in their hospitals. This doctor, Dr. John Shaman, a harmonica MD, is a Canadian doctor, and he, along with Seidel, has invented a harmonica specifically to be used for COPD patients and asthma patients. So you want to make note of that. This place here is in upstate New York, Tompkins County, New York. You could go to their website and check that out. It's kind of interesting. Holy mackerel. Look at this. You know, of course I've been playing, for the most part, chromatic harmonicas. I usually play 3 octaves. Of course, they have 4 octaves, and they're different designs and styles. There's a chord harmonica. When I was talking to, oops, wrong button. Why do I do that? Because I'm not very good at it. I was telling these young ladies right here that I never picked up that because I was always afraid of bashing my face in trying to play that thing. The 6-way tremolo. This is what a tremolo harmonica sounds like. Not appropriate for blues. And of course we have the bass harmonica and the little lady. And you were telling me that, yeah, you used to wear these as necklaces? Yeah? Okay. Here's a list of great women harmonica players around the world. Michael Adler, she actually is a relative of Larry Adler. And they have a trio there from Jerusalem. Crystal Berthon is a French player. Cheryl Arena is a great blues player, so is Diana Blue. You can check out all these people. Roxy Perry is another local. Annie Raines is a kind of a folk player. Go to harmonicas.com to check out a whole list of female harmonica players. And of course, the guys on the right side here, Howard Levy, just an amazing instrumentalist. What he's able to do with a single diatonic harmonica to play it chromatically is impossible, but somehow he manages to do it. I encourage you to check out any one of these wonderful guys. And listen, I hope you've enjoyed the show, and I hope you have something to take away with it. I hope you learned something. I'm going to be here for a little bit longer if you'd like to, stop up and talk to me. But listen, I really appreciate it. You've been a great audience. It's been a lot of fun for me, and I hope you enjoyed it as well. Thank you.